Did ECW think about touring the UK? You'd have sold out 10K arenas easily.
We already were going so much faster than we could afford. It never even occurred to me to go to that level. I mean, I was still trying to figure out where in the United States we could run and not get our asses kicked monetarily. I mean, again, there was no internet per se. It was just people were trading tapes. I would have loved to go to the UK. I would have loved to go to Canada. I would love to go to a lot of places we never quite got to. But keeping up with the money was like almost impossible. And when the pay-per-view started, forget about it. They're taking like $250,000 for a pay-per-view up front and paying you for that pay-per-view like 2 months later. But meanwhile, they want another $250,000 for the next pay-per-view where you can't lock that date in. How about paying me for the first pay-per-view so I can pay you for the second pay-per-view? It didn't work that way.
Yeah.
And it was just like, there's no chance to catch up. It was awful.
The only way for people in UK to have seen ECW was through tape trading, right? You didn't have television coverage there.
No.
It would have been, the tape traders, which, I mean, I know Japan it started, you started to notice it when you were getting, tape orders from Japan and everything, and
Early on, I was like, "I don't understand. They know our product in Japan? They don't even know us in New Jersey. How the hell do they know us in Japan?" And then I learned about tape traders.
yeah. It's funny, you know what I came across on YouTube? There was a wrestling show, late Saturday nights into Sunday mornings on WFAN, our sports station in New York, in the late '80s, early '90s. Uh, 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 Jody McDonald was the DJ that would host it,
Jody Mack, do me a favor.
and he's in Philly now, right? He's been in
Well, he
Philly for
was, yeah.
he was, yeah. So, his show overnight, he would have Rich Mancuso on, who was a wrestling expert. For some reason, I before or since, I'd never heard his name, but he would go on the show, and they would talk about the inside dealings in wrestling. It was basically a dirt sheet on radio. I know he had Meltzer on as a guest, Wade Keller on as a guest, but
Nobody credible?
sometimes you hear some weird stuff like, "Oh, they're gonna break the Rockers up, Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty, which is a terrible move because Shawn Michaels is not gonna have a singles career. Why are they doing this?"
By
And
the way, Sandman used to call into the Jody Mack show.
oh,
And he'd go, "Sandman!" And, like, he just by calling in, he'd go, "Jody Mack, do me a favor." And then they actually established a rapport from him being a caller on the show.
wow. But my point was that the shows I found on YouTube are all from, like, late '91, early '92, and they didn't ever get to ECW's start. It's, like, right before that. So I'm wondering if anybody has them. I'd love to hear what the coverage was when ECW started to make waves. I don't they probably didn't cover the early '92 stuff, but later in '92.
Yeah, 92 early stuff was bar shows in front of 80 people. I wouldn't cover it either. That's embarrassing.
Right, but no, but once you started getting in the sheets, they would have had to start to cover it.
And that was Eddie Gilbert.
Right.
Eddie Gilbert said, "What's next? What do you wanna do?" I said, "Well, no one's even covering us." And I pick up these wrestling sheets, and there's Smoky Mountain, and we're drawing as much as they are, if not more, and our shows are, like, 10 times better than theirs are. Like, he goes, "You wanna be in the sheets?" I said, "Yeah." So 2 weeks later, there's the tourist, there's the observer. I'm like, "How do you do that?" What? I mean, obviously, I learned later on how that worked, but back then I was like, it was like magic. 2 weeks later, we were everywhere.
Kron Stockton asked, how would ECW have done in Sturgis or at the Chase? So the Chase in St. Louis.
I would assume the same way we did everywhere else. We'd have gotten the right kind of fans out there, the hardcore fans who appreciated the fact that guys were going out there and killing themselves and beating each other with chairs and barbed wire and laughed at the comedy bits and appreciated the wrestling stuff that they were saying. I mean, anywhere we went, people would have come to our show or people would have appreciated our product. So it wasn't like we're gonna go out there and be in a, I don't know, church or this and the people had never seen wrestling before were like, "What is this?" We'd have done great anywhere where people understood what we were doing and came to the show because those people wanted that kind of product. Cartoons on WWF, they're getting garbage on WCW, and if they liked our stuff, they would have come and seen it, so we'd have done great there.
I think Sturgis, like the bike rally, that would have been that would have been incredible. You probably would have had a big turnout with, with bikers. And you know what would have happened at the Chase, honestly, because of the way you and Paul work? You would have done shit that the smart fans would have realized were callbacks to the old wrestling at the Chase, the old show. Would have incorporated some history in there somehow, references to it by somebody. You would have definitely spotlit where you were in an ECW way.
We both grew up fans of wrestling, period. So,
Right.
yes, anything that was good with any territory that we ever saw, we appreciated. We knew the good from the bad. We loved Bill Watts's, UWF. So it's called UWF.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And hated the fact that they did every show ended with like, "Oh my god, now they're coming out to the ring," and
We're
it
out of
drove
time. Yeah.
yeah, drove everybody crazy. But their shows themselves and the matches themselves, they're phenomenal. They're such a precursor to what the good shit was. I mean,
Right.
they couldn't curse and get away with what we got away with. They couldn't do lesbian stuff. They couldn't do the bar work. But what they did do was almost like as hardcore as we were. And it was awesome. Eddie Gilbert put the flag on the cowboy. Are you kidding me? And Jim Ross calling that as a fan, I would watch that and go like, oh, that's the good shit right there. Oh my God. Jim Ross, put the flag on the cowboy. Eddie Gilbert. I mean, that's what we gained, but a little bit different version of it. Yeah, that was awesome.
You're giving me images of Sam Muchnick involved in a lesbian angle in St. Louis in the Chase, and, now I can't watch my brain. Who else, Steve? Let's get as many as we can get here. There's folks pay to be here, so
Absolutely. Imperial Spy wants to know, hey, Todd, were you aware that Paul Heyman wanted Misawa versus